You're listening to Spirited Spirits, a spooky-centric podcast where we enjoy a spirit while we talk about spirits.
Hey, all you good guys and ghouls. We're going to talk about supernatural shit.
So, because this is our first podcast, we thought we should take a moment to introduce ourselves. I'm Steph.
I'm Drew. Steph and I are married. We'll actually be celebrating our 13th wedding anniversary this May. We have an 8-year-old son. We actually just put him to bed, and now we're hanging out in our basement bar recording this first episode.
So one thing you should know about Drew and I is that we love all things spooky. We love trying to scare the shit out of each other by hiding a spooky Chelsea Barbie doll in one another's sock drawer and pillow, coffee mug, slipper, wherever.
And I'm totally better at it.
Whatever. Anyway, but when I say this doll is spooky, I mean it literally looks like a miniature burnt Chucky after he was torched in the fireplace in the first Child's Play movie. I mean, Drew destroyed this thing.
I should go ahead and probably just get this out of the way that I'm a licensed mental health professional by trade. Maybe I should take that back a little bit. I'm not... it's fine.
You've heard some shit, and then you just took it out on the doll.
Maybe.
Anyway.
It's a terrible coping skill.
Well, better the doll than a person.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, we love going all out on Halloween. We'll decorate the house, dress up, and we have an epic annual Halloween party with friends.
Yes, we do. So we've been playing around with the idea of starting a podcast for a while. We finally decided just to sit down and start talking about what we love, spirits. So tonight we are drinking an old fashioned made with Maker's Mark 46. Now the reason we are drinking Maker's Mark tonight is because we just visited the distillery for Steph's birthday.
That's right, March 1st. Woohoo! Where my Pisces at?
Yeah. So while we were touring the distillery, which is in Loretto, Kentucky, Steph, maybe I should go back and say Steph is a little bit sensitive to stuff. When, we go places where they're haunted or even not allegedly haunted, she can pick up a vibe of something, sense things. She's very sensitive in that way.
Intuitive. I like to say intuitive.
But there's also been times too where you've felt like something bad was going to happen and it did. I'll give it a quick example. When Steph was pregnant with Noah, we were going to go over to somebody's house to play a board game, and she was having a lot of anxiety about it. It was raining, and then we ended up getting in a car wreck. So
what you're saying is you should always trust my instincts.
I didn't say that, but anyway, so
what he's talking about is we walked into this old warehouse.
Yes.
And we walked in, I just got this feeling. It was cold in there, but it was also March 1st, and it was, still kind of cold outside, but it was really dark. Everything was painted black, and and there was a lot of wood, and you could smell the bourbon, but it looked empty. I didn't see any barrels. Not to say, I guess they could have been up on top or something, but I just felt like someone had gotten hurt or killed, and there was a spirit that kind of remained in the building or was hiding in the darkness, staring at us. I don't know. I just felt like we were being watched. And I actually mentioned it to the tour guide.
Which, by the way, we went in March, so it's just us and another couple. So really, we had a private tour, which was awesome, by the way.
It was great. If you have a chance to do it, definitely go. But yeah, so I mentioned it to the tour guide, and she's this really sweet young girl, and she said, oh yeah, it's definitely haunted. I had a friend bring a medium here, and she said she saw several spirits in and around the warehouse.
And I want to go ahead and say this, that Steph is a big believer. I sometimes more want to rule out everything before...
You're too logical, babe.
Before we jump onto the ghost train. So, maybe it's, mental illness or something like that, but also in the Christmas Story, it could be just an undigested piece of potato,
or it could just be a damn ghost.
It could be a damn ghost, but maybe a potato as well.
No.
So
don't blame your indigestion on a spirit.
It could happen.
Okay?
I feel like a potato, an undigested potato, could lead to auditory visual hallucinations.
Do you have any type of scientific
I
evidence
have
for that?
I have no data to
Then you
provide
shouldn't
that.
say that.
So,
You have no proof.
I have no proof.
Okay,
no.
so we just thought for this first podcast, what would be more fitting than for us to talk about the spirited history of Maker's Mark and the bourbon capital of the world, aka Bardstown, Kentucky. And while we enjoy our Maker's 46, which I hand dipped the bottle in wax while we were there.
And that's also another thing too, is that we live in Kentucky, which is the bourbon capital. So on the tour, we learned that Bill Samuel Sr., who is a 6th generation distiller, decided to literally burn the only copy of his family's 170-year-old whiskey recipe and instead start one anew. He began experimenting with different flavoring grains in an effort to find a mash bill all his own.
Yeah, and what I thought was really cool was he actually baked bread with various grain combinations rather than distilling them in an effort to save time. And I remember we walked into the distillery and immediately I could smell the yeast that was fermenting in those large wooden vats.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, that smells like Gozer. Gozer is what we call our sourdough starter that I began during the COVID pandemic.
So we named him Gozer the Sourdough Aryan, which is a great name for a fucking...
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, so we're going to cuss in this. Hope it's okay. So it's a great name for a,
For sourdough.
Sourdough. So points if you recognize the Ghostbuster reference, because now we're friends. So
Bill Samuel Sr., he swapped out the traditional rye that's commonly used in bourbons, and instead he opted for a soft red winter wheat. This is probably why I like Maker's bourbon.
Which is crazy because she's not a
I'm
Maker's
not
person.
really a bourbon girl. Like, I'm kind of getting into it. Like, I'm really trying because he loves bourbon.
I love bourbon, guys. It's so good.
I am more of a wine girl. But I think I like theirs because it doesn't have as much of a bite. Like, it's got a little bit of spice, but it just feels good on the tongue compared to some other bourbons I've had.
And let's be honest, she started off with bourbon because of
Oh my gosh.
of the Brothers Bond bourbon, which is, if you don't know, it's a Vampire Diaries bourbon.
I love Vampire Diaries.
And guys, I'm just gonna whisper to you, it kind of sucks.
Shut up.
It really sucks. It's like baby bourbon.
What if Ian and Paul were to sponsor our podcast? You're gonna feel like shit now.
Well, then make better bourbon, guys.
What in the hell is wrong with you? He doesn't mean it, guys. Okay, so anyway, like we said, the Maker's Mark Distillery is located in Loretto, Kentucky, on Star Hill Farm. What I really enjoyed was that they kept a lot of the historical buildings. And I remember you saying, like, oh, I thought that's why you would like it, because they have the historical buildings, and they still use them in some capacity, despite some of the more modern additions that they've had to add on to meet demand. But the grounds are actually a National Historic Landmark. The farm spans more than 1,000 acres, so that was really cool.
Right. So, great history lesson, but let's get into some spooky shit because, I mean, that's why we've made this podcast.
Right.
Let's get into some spoopy shit.
Yeah, I'm getting to it. It's just, so our tour guide didn't really go into any stories of haunting or ghosts on the premises, which, I get because it wasn't a ghost tour. But so I came home and I tried researching more about the potential hauntings, and unfortunately, I really couldn't find anything substantial. The only thing I saw was an image of a crucifix on the basement door at the Samuels house, which was placed there to protect the family from ghosts. So they obviously believed in ghosts.
But there's no article.
Right. So there was no article.
There's nothing that says why that happened or if there was something that happened on the premises. Yeah. It's just there.
And then I found a Twitter post from the actual official Maker's Mark account that said, "Legend has it spirits come out to play at the distillery after dark
and
this time of year."
And that could literally just be a marketing point.
It was a Halloween post, so they were trying to get people to comment and tell a ghost story. No one responded, which makes me sad for their social media person.
If you want a new one, she's looking.
Hit me up. So anyway, during my research, I did find a bunch of ghost stories and true crime information about Bardstown, Kentucky.
Right.
Which is just 20 minutes north of Loretto. So Bardstown is, like I said, the bourbon capital of the world. So I thought, well, okay, so we drove through Bardstown to get to Maker's Mark. So I thought, why not discuss some of the ghosts in Bardstown? And specifically, I focused my attention on the Old Talbott Tavern.
I've heard of that one.
We actually passed it
Right.
when we were driving, so I thought, okay, let's talk about it. And I'll tell you, babe, after learning more about the Haunted Inn, I really want to stay the night there. Like, we should go for a long weekend,
With
right?
who? Me?
Yes, you.
Oh.
We could explore the tavern and we could talk to employees about the ghosts and drink some more bourbon.
That drinking the bourbon sounds great. Yeah, I don't want to get possessed by anything.
Oh,
That
I mean, I don't think
sounds-
you'd get possessed. If you do, it'd be by Jesse James, apparently. I'll go into that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if I want to do that though either. That sounds not
Okay.
good.
Hey, I'm getting low on my drink. You want to pour me a little
Yeah.
bit more?
Yeah, I'm gonna make another drink. You talk about other spooky shit.
Okay. So I found a bunch of videos on YouTube from paranormal investigators who've explored the tavern and they've collected evidence. Apparently there's a video of an entity that's, babe, listen to this. There's
Yeah.
a video of an entity army crawling
Oh. No.
down the hallway.
Oh fuck that. That's no. Mm-mm. I'm already done. I don't want to go. No. If I see that, I'm literally gonna shit my pants.
Don't do that. So there are several EVPs that have been captured, or electronic voice phenomena.
Right.
And folks who have visited the tavern have uploaded their stories to tell their experiences. But let me first begin by talking about the history of the tavern. I checked out their website, and I'm just going to give a brief overview of what it says. Like, I'm going to read from it, but I've just highlighted a few key things that I really want to call out. Okay, let's see. First of all, here's a connection, babe, to Maker's Mark.
Right.
So William or Bill Samuels and Leslie Samuels, who were the master distillers of Maker's Mark, were good friends with the Talbots.
Oh.
Yeah. And they were valued customers of the tavern. This is all according to the Old Talbott Tavern's website. That's where I found this information. William Samuels and Leslie Samuels are the father and grandfather of the current Maker's Mark president, Bill Samuels.
Okay.
So, William, I think I said Bill Samuels, but it was William Samuels, and I just shortened. I assumed
Right.
he would go by Bill, but it's actually his grandson, I guess. Whatever. Anyway, so, God bless you. It is spring in Kentucky, and we went from 60 degrees to now it's snowing. So our sinuses are a little funky. Okay. So the Old Talbot was built in 1779.
That's a long time ago.
1779. And it's been called the oldest Western stagecoach stop in America. Because of this, it's like the tavern is located at the crossroads of the Young West, where the post roads, north, east, south, and west all met. And that allowed stagecoaches to stop right there. Okay. So, numerous people, famous, infamous folks, stopped here at the tavern, either stayed the night or visited for whatever reason. Andrew Jackson, Henry Harrison, which I'm not really sure who that is. I forgot to look that up, but it's here on the information. General George Rogers Clark, though, used the tavern as a base. Provisions and munitions were brought overland from Virginia and stored in the cellars. It's pretty cool. Legend also says that King Louis Philippe, he was exiled from France. He had been the king of France. He was exiled. Him and his two brothers actually stayed there at the tavern on October 17th, 1797.
Okay.
So during their stay, apparently they painted murals.
Fun art project, I guess.
Yes. But the funny thing is they remain uncovered or they were uncovered in 1927. So, yeah. Also, there's a dozen or more holes that are found in the plaster in the room because legend says that Jesse James had a moment and started shooting at the wall.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really good Friday night.
Right.
I'm just going to drink and shoot my gun at
He
the
had a
wall.
little too much bourbon.
That sounds like Kentucky.
It sounds.
I mean,
that is
honestly.
if that's not the epitome of Kentucky right
Right.
there. Drinking too much bourbon and shooting the shit out of a wall.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so Stephen Foster, Abraham Lincoln actually stayed at the tavern when he was a kid. John Fitch, the inventor of the steamboat.
Oh, well, we do love our steamboats here.
We sure do, don't we? It's getting ready to be Derby season.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, I think you'll like this one. Alexander Walters was actually born at the tavern.
Oh.
He is one of the co-founders of the NAACP.
I do love the NAACP.
Do you? Okay, so he was born in the kitchen. His mom was pregnant. She gave birth to him in the kitchen because she was a slave.
Right.
And then she went back to work.
Wow.
Badass bitch.
Slavery also sucks, though, too.
Yeah, yes,
So-
absolutely. But like, whoa, and they didn't have drugs and stuff back then.
No.
Like, she did not have any type of medication, and here
Right.
she is birthing a child, and then she's gonna be like, "Welp, I'm going back to work." Of course, she had to because.
Right, she probably was made to.
Yeah, I know that
So-
sucks. Anywho, so the inn actually went through several different names throughout its history. It was called the Hines, Bardstown Hotel, Chapman's House, Shady Bower Hotel, the Newman's House, Old Stone Tavern, and now is recognized as the Old Talbot Inn. Tavern.
That's a lot of fucking names.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it went through, I guess, several different hands. So, let's see what else I think is really important here. Oh, Daniel Boone was also a visitor. I forgot to include him.
It's a lot of visitors, though.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go into the ghosts.
I want to hear about the ghosts.
I've talked enough about the history, but I did think it was important to kind of touch on that.
No, history is important.
History is important because it explains why there's
Right.
so much activity in this place.
Right, there's like 1 million people that have gone through this place.
Right. So, okay.
Maybe not 1 million. But
I mean,
quite a
maybe.
few. A plethora.
You're talking 1779. I mean, there
Right.
could have been. Yes.
I'm just going to use the word plethora because I feel like I like that word. It's a good one.
Do you like it?
I
You like
do.
how it rolls off your tongue?
It rolls off the tongue really good.
Yeah. How about that bourbon? Does it roll off your tongue?
Well, it's not rolling off the tongue. It's rolling into the tongue down my throat. And it's great, by the way.
Thanks for this other drink.
Yeah.
This is number 2.
Yeah. So, how is the old fashioned?
It's
good?
delicious.
Yeah. I have to say, I think the old fashioned, kind of going back from spirit to the spirit we're drinking. The old fashioned is definitely one that I feel like is
Classic.
It's probably my go-to because I feel like it's simple, it's tasty, it's not like difficult to do, and I can be lazy, so a simple cocktail is what I'm looking for.
Well, and I mean, I like it, but can I be a little honest with you?
Yeah, be honest. I mean, you're my wife. You can honestly be honest with me.
So you know how I have just recently gotten into bourbon.
Yes.
And remember how you tried to put an ice cube in my bourbon, and I was like, "What the hell?" And then I drank it without the ice cube, and I was like, "This is delicious."
Right.
I like this, but I'm like, how would it be without the ice cube?
Well, we use giant ice cubes for so it would be 1/5 of what's in the glass. So that would be
No, I just
number
feel like
one.
the ice is watering it down too much.
Well, yeah. Let's talk about ghosts.
Okay. All right, so let's see. Okay. The most famous ghostly visitor is Jesse James.
Obviously.
So
he's like top billing.
yeah, okay. So let me tell you a story that I found on their website. Okay.
Oh, on their website. That means like it's true.
Well, I mean, okay. So they definitely are leaning into the ghost aspect. I feel like
how else are you going to pull people in to
But
come
I think
visit the place?
right, and like we have not visited, so I don't know what the experience is or anything. But I've definitely seen several things, videos and some footage and stuff that seem to indicate that it. I mean, it's pretty lively. Like it's got some ghosts.
You know, we should take this mic up there and try to get a fucking EVP.
Yes. yes, let's do this. Like
Right.
next weekend.
Next weekend, we have a child. We're not taking him there.
Let's get a babysitter.
Hey Nina, can you babysit so we can go ghost hunting?
Meemaw, can you take our kid? Okay, so this is a story. This is from their website.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Believe it or not, but this is what actually they have posted on their website. Okay. So a former bookkeeper tells this story. One night while closing, she started up the stairs to take the money to the safe. And she was frightened when she saw a man standing in a long coat walk across the landing. About the same time, the cook came along from the kitchen. So I guess he was coming from the kitchen. And he also saw the stranger that was on the landing. They both were surprised because no one was supposed to be in the building. They went upstairs and they were following him through several rooms, which I don't know, like, why wouldn't you be like, hey, dude, what the hell are you doing?
Why don't you both close in on him? I mean, if no one's supposed to be there, like, catch the motherfucker at that point. I mean, maybe he's a robber. Maybe he's like a,
I don't know. But so he goes to, like, they see him go through the fire escape. And when the bookkeeper and the cook went to open the door to see if he'd gone down the fire escape to, like, I guess escape, right?
Right.
He was standing on the landing. He turns around and faces them and starts laughing. But it's this hideous laugh. Give me your best hideous laugh.
Oh, fuck no. I'm doing that right now. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Okay.
That sounds great. Audience, that's what we're looking for.
But then he disappears right in front of their eyes. So then, like, allegedly, 3 weeks later, she's watching TV. There was this special, and they showed a picture of Jesse James. And she grabbed her husband's arm. She said, oh, my God. That is the same face I saw the other night when the man disappeared. So she thinks she saw Jesse James.
Okay.
At the tavern. Thoughts? What?
But he was okay. So it was night.
So he's haunting the tavern.
Okay, but hold on. It was nighttime, right?
Yes. But there wasn't supposed to be anyone there.
But how did she know it was Jesse James? Like so it was a shadow figure, right?
No, but she saw him on the landing. It wasn't a shadow. No, nowhere in here says it was a shadow figure. I think
I thought it was.
She thought it was an actual man.
Okay.
On the landing.
Okay, I just thought like she saw his long coat and was like, oh, it's definitely Jesse James, or it could have been like just
no.
Guy, random ghost in long coat.
Anyway, okay. So the other ghostly visitor is this lady in white.
It's always a lady in white.
It's always a lady in white.
Always a lady in white.
But I think that they think it's supposed to be like Talbot's wife, like the man who owned it, who named it the Old Talbott. And I think there's a story in here about her too. Yeah. Okay. So on one occasion, a couple left in the middle of the night because of a terrifying experience with a lady in white. Later, they came back to tell us why they left. They both woke up at the same time to see a lady in white hovering over them in the middle of the night. She was looking down at them, and she turned and she floated out the window beside their bed.
Bye, bitch.
Bye.
No,
I'm done.
Leave the room.
Fucking out. So, yeah. But apparently she's thin. She has long, wavy brown hair. Kind of like me.
You do have wavy brown hair, yes.
And she has a white 1800s dress.
I'm sorry. If I'm asleep and I wake up and I see a woman floating like 4 feet above my bed, above me, I'm probably going to shit in the bed. Because, like... That's some Ghostbusters shit right there.
Right, right.
Like, give me Venkman.
And this ghost ain't going down on you.
Oh fuck, that does happen. That does happen in Ghostbusters. Yes, yeah. That's not. Nope. I'm glad we were both thinking the same thing though.
Yeah, were we?
This podcast is definitely rated
R. Anyway, so apparently there's also like they've captured orbs and shadow people. Flashes of light. There's things that keep moving, forks, glasses. There was one, I listened to one story where this couple saw a wine glass move and fall into some lady's lap.
Could that have been user error. Like, I mean, and I mean that by like,
could have been, I guess.
could have been that she just like
But they,
fumbled
like,
the wine glass because she was drinking.
I
and
don't
then-
even know if her hands were near it. I don't know.
Because
I'm just telling you what
my
it
thing
said.
has any of this been caught on any sort of media?
The army crawling ghost was caught on camera.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to show it to you.
Not tonight.
Okay.
I want to actually go to sleep tonight.
We've watched scarier shit than that.
That's probably true.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But okay, so doors open and close too. You know, your typical shit. Footsteps, knocking on doors. Apparently, there's an old piano that is heard playing by itself. But I also feel like there's pianos that do play by themselves. Like, wasn't
Like
that
a player
thing?
piano?
Yeah, that was like a thing back in the 1800s
but-
and shit. So they could have
but-
just put that in there.
But it's pretty distinctive if it's a player piano versus a regular. A player piano has that little. As a piano player, like, okay, I play piano, but I don't know what it's called. It's a doodad in like the middle of it, where it has
doodad. You heard it here.
The doodad,
It's the doodad
that like turns. It almost like turns to parchment or whatever the fuck it is, and like it causes it to play. Like, or there's like a key on it or something like that. It's not something where it's a regular piano. You can probably tell it's a player piano, like upon like further investigation. So if it depends on.
Okay, so when are we gonna go and see if it's a player piano?
You keep saying that. So,
Yeah, let's go.
okay,
All
let's
right,
go.
We're gonna book it.
Okay.
Okay, so one other thing I wanted to mention is there's 6 rooms in the inn, and they're all named after the famous or infamous people who had visited or stayed there. So, I forgot to mention Washington Irving,
Shut up.
the author,
What?
the author of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow,
Stayed in Kentucky at the time.
apparently, and that's why one of the rooms is named after him. Yeah. And there's a Jesse
man.
James room, and and Jesse James's room, of course, is obviously the most haunted, like, allegedly.
If the headless horseman.
I want to go stay in the Jesse James room. I want to feel the bullet holes.
You want to feel the bullet
I
holes?
want to feel the bullet holes.
If the headless horseman is actually haunting this place, I kind of want to ask for his autograph because
I don't think it's him.
it would just be like Washington Irving, just as pasty author.
It's like, have you read my books?
So I go in there like expecting this, like the headless horseman is just this like pasty white guy, like goes like, oh man, really, like, let's, the headless horseman is just, hello, have you
don't
read
even
my
know
book?
Oh my god. Anyway,
But like that would be the biggest letdown.
whatever. Anyway, I still want to go. I think it sounds like fun. And we could do some more exploring around Bardstown. There's actually a whole lot more information I could have talked about Bardstown. There's the Jailer's Inn that's right next door to the tavern, and it has some ghost stories and some history behind it, but I didn't want to necessarily dive too deep into that tonight. And there's also there's another distillery that is allegedly haunted, but we're not drinking that bourbon tonight, so I didn't want to also touch on that. So
Hey,
so
I love bourbon, so if we go up to another distillery, I mean,
yes, let's do it. Let's take a ghost tour.
A ghost tour, hell
Let's
yeah.
do it. They actually do offer ghost tours at this
shit.
particular. I'm not going to mention it right now,
Right.
but we're going to talk about it, I think, on a future podcast.
That sounds great.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Fuck yeah. Let's do that.
Okay. So I'm sorry that we didn't really talk much about Maker's Mark, but again, I couldn't really find anything.
There was not a lot. I even was looking for stuff too.
Like, surely to God, there's some stories about
I'm
Maker's
sure,
Mark.
but it might be one of those things where it's passed down like through worker, but also that it's not just.
Maybe they don't want to
noted.
talk about it as much, or maybe
I mean,
don't
it could
know.
be. It might be just like protecting the brand type of thing.
And maybe also because people aren't staying the night there, like say at a tavern where they would actually
Maybe.
there may be weird things that happen, but it's not.
But also, the tour guide was telling us that there were people kind of around the clock at some points where like they're turning the barrels and stuff like that. Like it's an all day situation. So you think at night where
They might
things
see
allegedly happen, that would be the night that would be the time where things would happen and they would report on them. And
Right.
but also it'd be like hearsay, like
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, okay. So if you have been to Maker's Mark and you've had a ghostly encounter, we want to hear about it.
We do.
Or if you've stayed at the Old Talbott Tavern, let us know if you had a ghost experience. We want to hear. We want to hear about it.
We actually have an email address.
We do. We just created a Gmail.
And an Instagram.
and yeah, we got to get the Instagram really moving. But so if you want to email us, please do so at contactspiritedspirits@gmail.com. And look for that Instagram account. We're going to get that. It's up. We just don't have any content, right?
No content yet.
But I hope to have some photos and stuff soon.
Of the Maker's
Mark. And then also like our Chelsea burnt Chucky doll that we like to play tricks.
Really?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Why not?
All right.
Why not? I got you the other day. You opened up the
You didn't give me.
cabinet.
You kept
No,
asking me about
you
it.
opened the cabinet.
No. Time the fuck out.
Okay.
You said our kid wanted a drink, and
I said open the cabinet.
And you said
you
open
opened
the
the wrong
cabinet.
door.
and then
You
said,
opened the wrong door.
And then you gave me this look like I had disappointed you, which I knew at that point that the doll was in the other fucking cabinet.
Shit.
I've been married to you for too long. I can read you like a fucking book.
Well, and we're high school sweethearts too, so it's like we've been together forever. We've been together for longer than
Really
we've
fucking
been.
long.
Anyway, yeah, so we're gonna get the Instagram working, but we'd love to hear from you. Contact spiritedspirits@gmail.com. Let us know if you've had an experience, or even just like a ghost experience. Like maybe we'll do
Right, like like just
an episode of
story.
from stories from our listeners. If
And I
we
think-
have any listeners.
right. If I have any listeners. And the other thing too is like this is just kind of a hobby, and so I think what we're gonna do is this is kind of gonna be a situation where every episode might be a little something different. We might do a movie review. We might do a original story reading of, because Stephanie and I are both writer. We both like to write scary stories. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll read one on air. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. But it's going to look something different.
This is another date night for us.
This is a date night. This is something so we don't have to watch a movie, sit down, just watch a movie every night. We can do something a little different.
Yeah, and kind of actually get to connect.
Yeah, get to connect and talk.
Yeah.
And have an audience, I guess.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Hello.
I don't know. If you're listening to us, thanks. So, yeah, thanks for listening to us.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you so much. So, I'm Drew.
And I'm Stephanie. Steph. You can call me Steph. We hope you'll continue to join us every week as we sip on spirits and talk about spirits.
Yeah. Bye, guys and ghouls.